Good morning and welcome to the fifth quarter AZ. My name is Danny Neal and I am just happy to be here with you guys this morning. Ready for a really good show. And as always, I got to bring on my guy, the man they call the coach, the man who won the 4A state championship coach of the year, the conference championship of the year, the state title, and he's my boss in recreation. So my boss a player guy, my boss with the city, and he my partner, so he don't scare me. My guy, the coach, Mr. Tyrone Johnson. What's up, man? Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Coach. How you doing this morning, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. You looking like you got all lotioned up and everything this morning. You're looking good.
Well, you know what I mean. I said yesterday, you know what I mean. You had went debonair all suave with the shaving up and everything. I say, I might have to at least lotion myself before I get on. So
that was a good idea.
So
Good
I at
point,
least
man.
did
Good
that.
point. Good point, man. And I was just looking at my collar about raggedy as it was the first show, but don't say nothing. Anyway, hey man, it's been a great week. You know, we've ended a lot of our spring sports, playing in state tournaments, going really far. So no, it's just been a great high school year in Flagstaff.
Yeah, it has. And you know, from track and field, I know they still got like something called Super State or something like that. Okay. I don't know. Tegan was trying to tell me because she placed in the top 20. So she's going to another meet this weekend as far as track goes. So I don't know if they do state and then they take the top ones that qualified and do another portion of state. So I really don't know how it goes. But she said they had that this weekend. And then one of our former guests, Coach Dean at MPA, playing in the state championship today.
Yay.
So we want to wish MPA the best of luck today. Hopefully they go down there to the Valley and like she say, be aggressive on offense and lock them up on defense and score a bunch of runs, hold them to none, and bring home another state championship for the spring.
Hey, that's all right, man. And for MPA to come out there and do it like that, of course, we don't just support the public schools, we support the charter schools. So we're giving a big shout out to MPA and just wishing them the best. And, you know, that's, you know, we can be championship city around here. Keep working like we're doing right now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, yeah,
Coach,
no, it's good.
I know you played your middle school playoff game yesterday, and I haven't talked to you since then. How'd you do? What you laughing about? I'm serious. Am I smiling? Look at this face.
I mean, you about business. So we won, Coach. We won our game.
No, you didn't.
Why you look like that? But look, you got to put an asterisk by it.
Oh, okay.
Because they had a school field trip, and I don't have eighth graders. Eighth graders at Catalina, you know what I mean? So if this was your school field trip, half your team would have been gone. But so I had sixth graders, and they were on a trip down to Tucson. And so I only had 4 players, Coach.
And you won with 4 players?
No, they put 2 more players on my team pickup, and one cat might have scored 30 by herself, Coach. So we won in the book, but I don't really count that as a win, man, because we got what they call a ringer. And so
but the kids did get to experience some success.
The kids experienced some success. These kids was out there, and it was 2 guys that we picked up, and they coming down dribbling. They just looking for them. I said, hey, this is our team. Y'all shoot the basketball. Y'all don't just look for them other people.
That's right.
They take away their points that they scored, and then the points that my actual team scored. It might have been a tie game, but we might have lost by about 4 or 5. I don't know.
Well, that's all right, man. You're going further off into the playoffs. So congratulations to your Mims team. And, you know, I don't know.
Coach, we ain't going nowhere. That was our last game. We done. We won. We went out. We ended the season on a win. So we done.
Well, that's all right then. That's even better, Coach.
But your teams is playing for something.
Right. I got my older group today. We're playing for the city championship in the JV A division, I guess it is. So you know, we got some really decent players, some really good kids, as well as the other team. So it's 2 small middle school teams playing each other, and it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a win. Yeah, win, lose, or draw. You know, we're 5-0. So we've had a great season. So, you know, as long as they go out there and compete, leave it out there, we'll accept whatever happens, man.
That's all you know is just how to win, huh? You just
Right.
win, no matter what.
I ain't saying that, man. I ain't saying that. I was telling some people the other day at Kiki's tournament how hey, this all on your coattails, man.
I don't know about that. I don't know about
just hanging
that.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but we're moving on forward. Good things are happening. We got a great guest coming on. But first of all, if you guys like what you're doing, please subscribe. Hit the like button. Let us know that things are going good. If you have any comments, concerns, questions, someone you'd like to see on the show, hey, you see us out in the streets, hit us up. We're not privy to, hey, what's up? Saw the show. Hey, have you thought about this person? Because we want to celebrate everybody in all fields of sports. So thank you guys for watching. Coach, let's move forward and introduce our guest today, man.
Yep. And just to piggyback onto that, Coach, if you're watching right now live, remember that you can send in questions, you can put in comments, and then also just go tell somebody, hey, the fifth quarter's on. Let's go and join in on it. So
see what them nuts are doing now.
Yes. So today we have a special guest, someone who covers sports throughout the city, from northern Arizona, somebody who has been after it for a few years now. And, we've had the privilege of meeting and talking to and being covered by. And so we're going to bring on none other than the Arizona Daily Sun sports editor. We want to bring on Mr. Eric Newman.
All right. Good morning, Eric.
How we doing, fellas?
All right, we doing
good. Great. How you doing?
I can't complain. It's another beautiful day. We finally got a little bit of sun in this town. NPA's going to the state softball championship today. I'll be in Tempe for that, but things are going smoothly.
That's awesome. So Eric, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, about what you're doing, kind of about your career and how you got here to Flagstaff, covering sports for Flagstaff in northern Arizona.
Yeah, so I grew up sports obsessed, watching everything, playing everything, all throughout high school, middle school, grade school, everything. And I had opportunities. I was a soccer, tennis player, and I had opportunities to go play like a small D3 tennis, but I ended up taking an academic scholarship to Marquette University in Milwaukee. So my high school tennis team, we won the state championship my senior year. And all of a sudden, 2 days later, it's graduation, and I'm just done with sports. And all this wind up, and you play for years and years and years and train and everything. And all of a sudden, you graduate, and it's just done. And I go off to college. I play a little bit club, but I knew I needed it back in my life in some capacity. And so I start doing some radio broadcasts for Marquette soccer and basketball. My freshman year, they had Jay Crowder on the Marquette team, so it was fun.
Nice.
Some radio broadcasts for that team. And yeah, so I just I stuck with it. After I graduated, I spent a year working in a hospital in admissions in a psych hospital. And so I needed a job, make some money. But the whole time I was always reading sports stuff. I'm watching games, listening to podcasts, stuff like that. And I just figured I needed to do something. I read so much sports articles. I read so many things that I'm like, maybe I could do this. So I moved to Arizona, go to Arizona State, the journalism program there. Got some really, really cool experiences. And, I start working at a newspaper in Tempe for a few years, and eventually I make my way here. I saw an opportunity. You guys knew Lance Hartzler, the guy before me at this job. He and I are friends, and I knew he was leaving. And I was like, that'd be a cool job to go try and get. So all of a sudden, here I am. I'm doing sports all throughout Flagstaff, seeing some cool stuff going on, and we go from there.
Yes, indeed. And good old Lance, ain't he up in Montana? Didn't he go to Montana?
Yeah. He took a job in Montana, writing about the Grizzlies men's basketball team up there.
Okay.
That's all right. That's
Yep.
all right.
And then you cover like some of the reservation schools as well. It's not just Flagstaff, right? You'll do like Page or Winslow. I mean, maybe not in person, but call-ins. I know I see some stuff on them.
Yeah. So we'll do some of that. The main focus is Flagstaff, but some people in Page and those res schools buy our papers, so we have to give them at least a little bit of love.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's all right. Well, I got one question to get out the way, Eric. Is Coach Johnson the most important person you ever interviewed?
Why would you do something?
Well, the thing is that when they're making these deep playoff runs, I feel like I'm in his face with my phone asking him questions at least 2 or 3 times a week. I'm sure he gets tired of seeing me.
So he's been the most interviewed.
Yeah, absolutely. It's up there.
No, it's always a pleasure, you know what I mean, to answer the questions, to talk with you, to give you the stats and all that good stuff. But look, I'm not going, which way do I go? This way. I'm not going, no, this way. Him right there. I'm not going to let him hijack the interview like that. So we want to talk about just about all the sports. I mean, you're not being from Flagstaff and then coming up from the Valley and whatnot. What's the difference you see kind of in the athletes or the teams down in the Valley? Let's take, say, football. Let's start in football. In the fall, the sports there. What are some of the differences that you see in the athletes and teams?
So there is a real emphasis right now. The AIA is trying to do something about the amount of transfers that are happening down in the Valley and even a little bit of Tucson. We don't see that as much here. I mean, part of it being there's only 2 football schools in our city. So if you transfer, you're going down the street. And that just doesn't happen a whole lot, a little bit, but it's hard to cover everything going on down there. I tried to, that was my first job out of when I finished grad school at ASU. I was covering sports in the East Valley, some in the West Valley, and it's just that there's so many schools and so many good kids that I kind of prefer this. I can get out to on Wednesday, I was at Flagstaff's spring football practice. Coconino is practicing right now. They've both got new coaches, new staffs out there. And so it's different because it's a smaller community. There they've got all the 7-on-7 teams, all the spring stuff. And so here it's kind of, a lot of the kids are playing multiple sports, that goes for both boys and girls in the fall. The volleyball players play basketball and softball and everything like that. So it's really a whole different feel.
And it seems like you can get more of a personal touch, get to know people better, athletes and coaches.
Yeah, absolutely.
As compared to down there. And one of the reasons why I did bring up about Coach Johnson is just to lead to the question that you've just also done pro sports. You also interviewed and worked with like the Suns and organizations like that also, correct?
Yes, sir. The most intimidating, and this isn't anything about him, but the smallest I've ever felt in my life was I interviewed Tyson Chandler when he was with the Suns, and that man's hands were the size of my head. He was a huge man, and he was nothing but pleasant. Listened to every question and everything, but just you don't realize how big these dudes are until you're standing right next to them.
Right. So you've done a lot of reporting all over, like you say, Phoenix and everywhere. Where do you rate the Flag High Coconino rivalry compared to other rivalries in the Valley and places?
I think it's just as good as any. When I was living down there, the Chandler and Hamilton football teams played in the state championship a few years ago, and that was crazy because it was a whole mix of things. It was the COVID season, it was 2020 fall, and so people weren't sure how close to be to each other, everything like that. And it was also a great game, and they played it at a high school rather than at Sun Devil Stadium, and so the whole thing was packed. But there is just something to this local rivalry because everybody grew up together. And they all played youth sports with and against each other. So it really is great. You guys know, you've seen some of the res schools. Those rivalries are really cool too. Some of those games have been awesome to see. The 3A championship when there's a res school in there for basketball is always wild, no matter who they're playing. But yeah, I mean, flag versus Coco is great. And the thing is, a lot of the athletes end up playing multiple sports against each other, so it's kind of a continuation.
Yep.
Yeah. When you look at like say the rivalries and everything else, and as you're covering teams here in Flagstaff, do you ever get parents or anybody calling in saying, hey, you're not covering us enough, or you're covering this team too much? Is there ever any of that? And how do you make sure that it is equitable, if you will, or you're getting everybody into the mix?
I get angry parents all the time. You guys are coaches. I'm sure you get the same thing, right? Like, why is my son or daughter not starting? And you're like, your son or daughter has a 1.0 GPA and hasn't come to practice.
Right.
But yes, so I mean, if I listen to everybody that complained, I'd go crazy. But for the most part, it's support. People just like to see their kids' names in the paper, and a picture on there. So, and people appreciate what's going on. So before a season starts, fall, spring, winter, I kind of map out what games are going to be when, and sometimes it ends up changing. Like spring, there was a lot of snow and everything, so it made it a little bit difficult. Yeah, I know even for you guys, it was hard at points to get to practices and games and everything with all the snow, and so you can't really do the entire schedule, but I try to make sure that, I'm going to hit at least one of the games from each of the teams throughout the season, multiple if possible, and then playoffs, those are important games. So I was at every one of your playoff games this year. And so someone might have been able to say, hey, you covered Flagstaff basketball too much. And my response would have been, yeah, because they're playing more. And so it's about trying to get to as much as possible. And I've got a few interns most seasons, usually NAU students who I'll try to send us some stuff to. But it's all about, win or lose, every team's important in this state and in this city. So I try to do as much as I can, but it's not always easy.
Right. And I know you said you have people like interns and stuff sending you stuff. How in past times, I know a lot of the editors who probably had more people staff than you do would say, hey, if you have something, send it to us at the Daily Sun, and we'll try to get it in. Is that still how you operate?
Yeah, absolutely. The director of the sports program at NAU, Rory Faust, he's actually got kids that have come through Flagstaff. Had a kid on the baseball team this year, Sammy Faust. He about once every few months will write a story about all the kids from Flagstaff that are playing at different colleges, kind of a roundup of how they did in their different sports. I'll have a few students who will write stuff for their classes, and I might be able to use some of that. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, I'm happy to take as much as possible.
So you got some you got really a legendary coach in this town, somebody who wins multiple state championships in a year at times, and so covering somebody like Coach Painter at Flagstaff High School, what do you really look for when you're interviewing somebody like her? Do you try and see what her success code is? Do you just interview the current athletes, or what do you do when you got somebody with greatness like that in front of you?
So you guys know this as coaches, but teams change every year, especially at the high school level.
Right.
And even if you have a lot of the same girls back, like I know you're graduating, what, 2 or 3 seniors from this year's team, something like that. Even with a lot of the girls back, it's going to be a different team. You'll have some new kids coming in. Girls will have had a year of their lives, so never know what happens there. And so you try to kind of get a sense of what's actually happening that year. And you could easily be lazy and just kind of say, hey, this happened last year, and kind of and think that that's exactly what's going to happen again. And you mentioned Trina Painter. She's that's, I think, part of why she's so successful is she kind of sees what's going on with each year's roster, and tailors things to them. And that's why they're able to be state champions or runner up every year. So interviewing takes a lot of, and you guys know this, preparation. You kind of see what's going on with the team. You read up. I kind of, when I'm about to do a cross country story, I'll go look at past ones, see what worked, see what didn't, and each one's a unique thing.
And then with today's technology, with online, with people being able to post Facebook stories or whatever they do social media wise, is the written form of the paper becoming a dying breed, or how are you staying relevant in this day and age?
So that's a multi-tiered answer. There is, I think, as long as people are playing high school sports, there is a market for seeing kids' names and photos in the paper.
Right.
And I think that that's always going to exist. Yes, there are so many different ways to tell a story now, and we're kind of trying to tailor that a little bit. I'll be on my phone taking a couple Twitter videos or whatever during a game, seeing someone hit a buzzer beater. I'll try to get a video of that, and so you can incorporate that in. But in the paper itself, it's print and photos, and I think that the not just in sports, I think there's a need for local journalism in general, and it's to do with our local city council, to do with school boards, stuff like that. There's something to the freedom of the press, keeping these people in check, and I think that's always going to exist. Whether or not it's always the actual print newspaper that people subscribe to, I don't know, but I think the industry is okay.
All right. Well, that's good. Well, Eric, it's come to that time in the show when we ask you to drop a little knowledge on us, from all your experiences. And it's a little part of the show that we call When Coach Johnson Asks You a Question. It is the Coach Johnson's Golden Nugget question of the day. What you got for him, Coach?
So, Coach, I ain't playing your funny little games today. We still got some stuff to talk about. So, Eric, before we get that, we look at this year. Why don't you run us through the biggest moments of the year, from fall sports to winter sports to spring sports? What were some of the biggest moments, or some of the moments that you enjoyed covering the most throughout this whole 2022-2023 school year?
Yeah, so there's been a few historic moments. One of them being you showed me off camera the rings you guys are getting for winning the championship. You're one of 3 teams now, if I'm remembering correctly, that is either won a first championship under the current regime, or is playing in its first championship this spring. Last week, the Flagstaff boys tennis team made its first ever state title game. NPA is playing in its first softball state title game. A win there would be the first softball title for any high school in Flagstaff, right, which is a pretty cool accomplishment if they're able to do that tonight. It's been a lot of records being broken. There's been some awesome track and field ones. We've all 4 high schools have had some really successful people. Basis Flagstaff, a team that doesn't get covered as much because they don't have as many sports, but they had a kid named Evan Hofstetter this year who won state in 3 different events last week. The 400, long jump, and triple jump. And so that was a cool thing to see.
Absolutely.
Great athlete over that way. But it's been a lot of fun. There's been upsets. The Flagstaff girls softball team was ranked number 14 in the state. Got a couple big upsets, including over number 3 Eastmark, who was undefeated. They beat them in the playoffs. Big deal. Coconino softball and baseball has had some really cool stuff going on, and it's been a lot of fun. I've been thoroughly busy, but there's been a lot of cool stuff to see.
Yeah, that's real cool. And, I know us as coaches, you know what I mean? We definitely appreciate the dedication and just the hard work that you guys put in and just in covering us and, giving these kids the accolades. As we go through each sport, you guys select the player of the year. What goes into that? What goes into selecting the player of the year? And then ultimately, is it you and somebody else? Is it the whole staff? Do you reach out to people? How do you come up with who's going to be the athlete of the year?
So throughout the course of the season, I talk to I'll go girls basketball because that's you guys have the expertise on that. You and I will talk a little bit, and I'll kind of get the coach's opinion on who's the leader on the team, who's kind of emotionally taking over, and obviously success on the field or court or whatever makes a big difference there. But just kind of seeing who has stood out, and it's not always the person who scored the most points or the most goals or whatever, but an important part of the team and its success and everything like that. And I kind of go over with my managing editor, Mike Hartman. I'll talk to him, and we'll kind of spend a few minutes at the end of the season looking over that stuff. But ultimately, it comes down to a coach's opinion and mine, and just kind of a lot of times it's who stands out, and you can make the pick pretty easily.
Right. All right. Well, now I guess, Coach, give me the music.
I'm not.
I was looking forward to this. This is my favorite segment of every show.
Yeah, man.
Coach sings and Ty gets embarrassed.
Yeah, I knew you was waiting on this, man. I didn't want to make you suffer too long. But anyway, it's that time in the show, and I'm going to really give it to you this time. To the golden nugget question of the day. What we got, Coach?
All right, Eric, you were mentioning that, you came up in sports. You participated in various sports. You had opportunity to go play college, but you chose not to. Now, one thing you said that I found interesting is that one day was just over as far as sports. And what advice would you give these kids right now coming to the end of the year who have been invested in these sports throughout their lives, and this is the day that is over?
I'll give you 2 answers to that. One is that it doesn't have to be over completely. I was never, because I took an academic scholarship to go to a D1 program with, I was never going to play on the teams there. They were way too good. But you can stick with the industry in some way, if that's what you desire to do. There's so many opportunities, whether it's media, it could be a ticketing agent. You could work with the facility. You could work in radio. You could do anything like that if you really did, and you can be a coach. A lot of youth teams, I'm sure you're with this now, need volunteer referees, need all sorts of stuff. And so it doesn't have to be over just because you're done playing competitively. And I'd also say that whether you are a JV player or you're LeBron, it ends for everybody at some point. And so you kind of you just have to acknowledge that it's not a forever thing. You can't be 95 years old still dunking. And if you can, then you're a superhuman. But it you have to enjoy the time that you've had, make the most of it, and find some other interests outside of there too. I know you guys, you work other full-time jobs that don't have to do with the coaching stuff, and find some other things that you enjoy doing. Even if if sports is your whole life, you can find some other interests too. So it's a multi-pronged thing, and I mean, sports can be a part of your life as long as you want it to.
There it is. There
Great
it is.
answer,
Eric
great
Newman.
answer.
Hey, Eric,
That's
we
right.
definitely appreciate you joining this morning and sharing with us and your knowledge and the coverage that you do here in Flagstaff.
Thank you guys for having me.
Hey, thank you, Eric. Great show. Appreciate you, man. All right, Coach. Good, man. Hey, that was a great show. Great guest. You know, you're doing great work, man. Getting these guests coming in. You kind of took it up for the next 2 or 3 weeks saying, let me find the guest for the show. So you started off with a bang, man. We like that. A+,
Yeah.
Mr. Recruiter.
Look, and next week we'll have the twins on, Heath and Nick Lopez from Flagstaff High School baseball. So just FYI, we'll be doing it, and then after that we're gonna see if we can get Ileana on during the Memorial Day weekend type event. So we got some coming up, you know what I mean?
Right, man. You all on this, man. I hope ESPN don't steal you from us or something like that.
Man, look, I told you I ain't got time for your foolishness. Look here, peoples. Again, if you like what we're doing, what they say, smash that like button. Share the content, and then check us out live. We appreciate everybody joining in. I don't know what everybody got to do here today. We hope you have a good one. But I do know one thing: you ain't got to go home,
but you got to leave here. Peace.